Hello, as I set this whole thing up and nobody's here. Yeah, it's been a minute. We got 5,000 subscribers, so that's insane. It's been just under a year to get there. Started on October 6th from absolutely nothing. I didn't even have a microphone, and I wouldn't even talk because I was super like stiff. I'm still like weird as hell with this whole thing, but the early videos are super funny to go back and watch. Yeah, the idea was just to do, I'll just go in some, since no one's here, how it started. The main thing was to get rid of gatekeeping, especially, specifically with bass playing. That's the number one thing. I fucking hate it when people gatekeep music. It's so arrogant. I put a meme up, I have it, I think I can see it in the back, on the community page, where it's like, you know, like the simple dude with the wide eyes playing pentatonics, and then it goes to the bell curve, and it's like Coltrane changes, superimposition, superimpositions, harmonic minor modes, chromatic enclosures, like all this crazy shit, and then at the end of the bell curve, it's like the guy with the robe that's mastered it all and is playing pentatonic scales. The point of that is all of those fancy things, like in the comments, someone wrote under that thing about superimpositions or like a question mark, like what the fuck is that? And it's not that hard. It just sounds difficult, and people spent a lot of time and money to learn about what that is instead of having someone just explain it to them. So a superimposition would be like if you take a C major seventh, so 1, 3, 5, 7, right? But then you're just gonna play a minor triad on that from E. So you can play this, same chord, would go over. You're just picking out notes that are already in a chord, you're imposing them with a different root note. It's a little more involved, but that's literally what it is. You can get into other things, but if someone's playing a G major, you could find what notes in there are make up a different chord, and you play that, and then you can play an octave higher of it and do all sorts of stuff. But that's a superimposition. So anyway, back on track as I pour coffee down my motor mouth. But the reason I started this about a year ago, October 6th, was, okay, let's do a channel where first there's no bass keeping or gatekeeping, and secondly, cut all the fat. How many times I've watched a YouTube video for, I know it's 8 minutes because after 8 minutes, that's when you can get ads in the middle of the videos. So everybody, by the way, will do 8 minutes just so they can get more revenue, which is another fucking annoying thing to me too, because you're just sitting there scrolling around for 8 minutes, listening to someone fucking yap away when all you need to know is how to actually play. Like, I could show you how to do that in less than 8 minutes, which is just triads going up a major scale. There's plenty of ways of doing that, which I've gotten into. I'll do it again too, but that's my idea. We're talking on the channel now. So to cut the fat on all that stuff, and as it got along, and I've gotten somewhat more comfortable with talking to no one in a room onto a phone, it's cool when I'm here doing live because I can see there's 2 people that are actually watching. So it's no different than like a Zoom meeting or anything like that. But when you're just blankly staring at an empty thing, it's always weird. I'll never get used to it. So from that, just started plugging the channel, and it organically took off. And by took off, I mean it's a small fucking channel. There's nothing crazy about it. But I'm cool with 5,000 in a little under a year. What's up, Roger? We chat in the community all the time. I'm doing great. Just chilling on Saturday. I have the humidifiers in here because I hang all my bases on the wall, so sorry if it's smoky. But out in Arizona, it's like, I woke up this morning and I have the windows, and it's just like the beams of light. It looks like someone smoked this place out. But I swear it's just water vapor. I don't do any of that shit anymore. So, but yeah, I'm doing awesome. But yeah, the next things to do with the channel, I did the latest video, which I haven't been doing every day. I've been putting shorts up every day, but long form, which is still gonna be almost always under 8 minutes. I guarantee that, because that's just absurd to be that anyone with a video over 8 minutes is chasing money. That's 100% factual. Unless you're doing like a docu-series or something where clearly 8 minutes isn't enough. But yeah, if you're learning about a particular subject and it's 8 minutes, just know, whatever channel it is, I'm not talking shit, it's just a fact. After 8 minutes, they get, they double, at least double their revenue, because they have double the ads or maybe triple the ads. It sounds like someone's getting arrested. But, what was I saying? ADD is so fucking strong with this thing. I love when I rewind this and I realize how out of my mind I actually am. Subscribers, 8-minute rules. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I still have to do most F. I'm writing that down right now. Sorry about that. I know what I was getting into when I was talking about videos. The last video, thank you for that. The last video I did, I talked about bridge and neck pickups and how they're boomy and one's growl and boom and all that stuff. So I think depending on the response, which that's not really true. I don't really care what the response is. I like the fact of going into stuff like that. Kind of how at the beginning of this live I was talking about superimpositions and all what that means. In the same breath, there's a lot of simple or things that we just are supposed to know that no one ever really talks about. Like, I know when I was playing the octaves like this before, some people were like, I'd never even heard of that, to play it that way. I've been playing for a long time. So there are certain things that I want to go over that just kind of jump out that a lot of people haven't noticed. The same goes for the bridge and the neck. It sounds like it's beginner stuff, and there's a lot of fucking beginners on YouTube, which is amazing, because that's where do people go when they are first starting to play, and it should be YouTube. It's just who wants to sit around and like it's so much information. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Everyone loves to say that thing like that. Oh, it's drink from a fire hose. It's great. Is it? Because it fucking hurts. Didn't know that octave thing. Yeah, exactly. It's not something that a lot of people talk about. So what I like to do is pinpoint certain things, and another one is to bring up topics where I don't even have to actually show notes or anything like that. I want to make a mix, and let me know in the comment section too if I'm onto something or not. But the videos I feel like the channel would be better with not just general knowledge, but specific knowledge on certain things, also mixed in with how to play theory and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to be going, like the next video I'm going to do, because it was in the comments where I get everything from, is to go with the difference between why the pegs are on the 2 and 2, or some will have them in line, some will have 4 and the 5th one over here. There is a very definite reason for that. There's more than one reason for that. This one is I can get into it on this. You can see that they're angled. The actual headstock goes back, meaning, as this thing's heavy as shit, it dives down that way. As I stick my whole ass out. It's not that kind of cam show. But the reason when it's 2 and 2, you can angle the headstock backwards, so there's more string tension. What that string tension does, and it all has to do with preference, because not having floppy strings I love it. I don't like I can't even really get it on this, because the length of the scale length is so big that, and the tension is there, it doesn't really flop. But if you're playing corn or nu metal or anything like that, you want to have all of that, that kind of flop noise to it. I have the Stingray could do it, because that's it's a 32-inch 5-string. But that's another reason where getting into parts of the instruments, yeah, some have 4, some have inline. Is it just aesthetic? Partially, but there's a lot of function involved in it. A big thing with the inline 4, which I think again, it's a lot of opinion too. The inline 4 has a certain look to it. It looks fucking awesome. Meaning when the 4 strings are up here. So the Fender P bass has it, my Schecter has it, jazz basses, all that stuff. Especially the Thunderbird too, which what I'm getting at is notorious for neck dive. Because when you have all that weight on one spot, it's not balanced. So the whole thing, neck dive is when you let go of the bass, does the neck go down. This thing happens to be a fucking sculpture more than an instrument. It's a neck through, so it's one piece of wood. Well, they glue on the wings actually, but it's one continuous piece. So this thing doesn't neck dive at all. But a part of that too is because it's balanced with 2 and 2. So that's just two reasons why there's a difference in where the tuning pegs are. What other, since we're on that topic, we'll go through it, because I'm going to come back to this and make videos out of all of them. So let's see, what else? Pickup placement is huge, depending on how high up, this way or this way it is. The closer the pickup is to the bridge, it's the same as if you were playing. You're going to get more growl to a point, and then it's just kind of rubber band stretched out, and the same way this way. If you get too close to it, a company that really flirts that line, because they just cover the whole thing, are Dingwall basses. They have those 3 pickups that are slanted that go with the frets are fanned, so they're not straight. They go this way and they curve as it goes. The reason they have the entire thing covered with pickups is because you'll be able to get tone out of every single position. Always goes to a guy who gets a new bass and sells it and make it more playable, and it's a huge difference. Yeah, more playable. I mean, that's like going to a mechanic and saying make it faster or make it drive smoother. More playable would be like driving smoother, actually. So yeah, you don't need to be a mechanic to be like, I want this thing to go smoother. I think it's so pretentious drinking coffee on this thing. Anyway, yeah, it would be, what would that mechanic do to the car? He'd probably, if it's going to be smoother, he'd probably loosen the suspension, so bumps are a lot easier. If you're going to race it, then you'd just tighten the suspension up. It's the same idea with playing bass. If you want to play faster, you're going to get lower string action, you're going to get the strings tight as fuck, and you're going to be able to fly with it. Same thing with tapping. You want to go low. But also, when I used to play a lifetime ago, and I would tour and stuff, I would beat the shit out of my basses, because it was a fun live show. Stupid pop punk and metal or whatever, or anything stuff. Pop punk and metal are very different, but that's what I used to play. So with that, I would have the string height would be huge for me. Like for now, you can see it. It's relatively, you can see through it. It's nothing too crazy. And also, I did not ask for this setup. This is how F-Bass gave it to me. And what they do is fucking law in my book. So it will stay this way. It's the most playable bass I've ever had in my entire life. So that'll stay the same. But when I would set up my P-Bass and stuff, which is, a P-Bass is pretty much a weapon, I would get the string height really high so I could slam into it, and it wouldn't, sometimes they would come out of the nut and stuff if I didn't set it up right. So I'd put on heavy ass gauge, really high string height, and my fingers would bleed for a while, and then the calluses would come in, and that was it. But yeah, that's the difference of how you would set your shit up. But also, there's a thing with, you can only set things up so far. There's nuanced stuff like, where are the tuning pegs that are on it? How far up is the cutaway? Can you actually reach the high notes? Or is the cut here and then you're gonna be playing this way? Like, I have it on, my Warwick is a 24 fret, but I have to play the 24th fret, my pinky doesn't just end right there on it. I have to actually come up and go this way. I'm able to do it, but it's more difficult. But it's also a design thing. What can you actually do? You can only go so far with it. I know other basses, I forget the company, but their neck, the scale or the bridge comes out way further over the body. So it's like, comes this way, juts out, and then comes on. So the scale length on that is insane. So you could get some crazy, like, massive booming lows, and the string tension is super tight, and it's great for 5-string and all that stuff. Trying to think other design ones. Then the EQ is a whole nother thing too. 3-band or passive. Like, when I pull this thing up, it goes passive, so the volume dies out because I've had the EQ jacked up. So when I have, I can explain that a little more. Active is when the signal is being boosted out of the bass, and passive, there's no boosting. It's just straight up, there's magnets in the pickup, and it's putting that natural sound. So you don't need any battery inside of a passive. So when I put it on passive, the reason the volume dies out is on active, I had low, mid, and high turned up. So that battery is sending an extra signal and a charge, which means extra volume. But when it's on passive, I don't even know if that's loud enough. Yeah, it should be. And it sounds amazing too, especially, well, this bass again is a fucking work of art. But once I push it in, it's gonna get loud as shit. because I have high, mid, and low boosted. I turn these down all the way off, it's gonna be the same volume because it's the same as a passive. Now everything's on. So that's how that can happen also. And the way an active sounds different than a passive, when you mentioned, I think about the car and how he'll bring it in and tell someone to make it more like drivable or comfortable or whatever, a active bass will sound hot, if that makes sense. Like it'll, Jesus, I gotta stop making coffee on this thing. I hate the way I look drinking coffee talking about shit. When it's a hot bass, it doesn't even mean volume wise, it's part of it, but like you could just tell when you barely touch it, there's gonna be sound coming out of it. It's literally charged. There's a charge coming out of when your fingers touch. When it's down to passive, you have to really get in there. It's like a natural gate almost. If anyone knows what a gate is, a gate you have to have a certain amount of signal before it boosts through to go into the console. So when you have like gate compression and all that stuff, a gate, it's called a gate because it takes a certain amount of pressure and then the gate opens and lets everything go through. So on a passive bass, you need more pressure for that gate to open. When it's active, the gate is barely hanging on, so it just pushes it right through. So when it's literally, you could just hear string noise like this on active, and then when it's on passive, you're just really hearing it from the acoustic. It's not coming out. The acoustic meaning the strings. It's not coming out of the amp right now because there's nothing picking up the subtleties of it. That's a big difference. And someone wrote that, I gotta get back to them in the comment section, they asked about, I forget the wording, but they said that an active bass is nothing that can't be done on outboard or like through pedals and shit like that. And theoretically, yeah, that's true, but on paper, nothing is ever in reality. So when you have a onboard preamp, which is what an active is, it's the actual 3-band EQ or whatever is pushing it out, that's inside the bass. And you can get in an argument about tone wood and does it matter, but I believe that if you make a bass out of fucking sheet metal, or you make a bass out of this thing, one of them is gonna sound better. And that's for a reason. They can be set up the exact same way. So people are like, it hasn't been a study about it. Like, okay, who cares? You don't need a study to know some certain, like, there's something to be said about experience and knowledge that go hand in hand. But when it comes to active, can you do the exact same thing on pedals? And to me, the answer is no. You can get close to it. It's the same way I have a Stingray 5 HH, which means it has 2 humbuckers. I could dial that bass in to sound like any other bass. It's ridiculous. The amount of options you have, the pairing of the pickups, the EQ, just on the bass with no pedals. That's the same thing that goes for pedals. Can I get that Stingray 5 to sound like a Rickenbacker or Rickenbacker, however people say it? I say Rickenbacker. Yeah, I can. Will it sound like a Rickenbacker? Fuck no, it won't. That's the same thing with the active bass. If you're gonna go through all that trouble to get something to sound like an active bass in post-production, what the fuck are you doing? The active basses are not that expensive. This thing's stupidly expensive, but that's because it's a custom bass. You can get any active bass. I have a Schecter that's under $1,000. I think it's like 750 bucks. I would put that bass up against anything I own, including this. If you were to put on paper how much value you're getting for that dollar, Schecter Model T all day long. The thing is ridiculous. And it's an active bass. It sounds absolutely incredible. I'll go grab it. Hold on a second. I don't know, if everyone runs away in the next 12 seconds, that's on you. Give me 1 second. I don't even think it'll be that long. All right, and we're back. So this thing is sub $1,000. Ooh, it's not good. I haven't tuned it in forever. It's a little off. But it's active, and it sounds hot. I should play it a lot more. I haven't played this in a while. Neck through also. Not paid endorsement, nothing like that. I get no money from fucking no one. Oh, also it got monetized, and I know people always want to know how much money you've made. Not always, but I'll tell you, full transparency. It's at about like 68 cents a day is the average, and I'm not complaining. That's awesome. That's a coffee a week, so can't thank you guys enough for that. I think it takes, you have to get to $100 though to actually get like a payment thing or whatever. But whatever. If I wanted it for the money, I'd be making much longer videos with edits and all sorts of crazy shit. Anyway, this one has all of the features that you'd expect in like an F-Bass or a Stingray or something like that. Plus, I love the offset markers too. These are actually in the bass. But yeah. The stuff you'd see that adds a lot is the string through, which comes back to that string tension. This one is an inline, so there's no angled back part to it. The point of this, a lot of people see it all the time, the string tree, or whatever they fucking call it. Perfect example, people see it a lot, have no idea what it does. It's, instead of because the headstock isn't angled backwards, the tree makes them angled backwards. Because these two, if they were going to be flat the whole way, the tension would be all out of whack. So that's a little trick, mechanic trick, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but that's a way to get the further away strings to have more tension to them without bending the entire design of the headstock. So yeah, this is the same thing. They just have, and it's 3-band EQ. I think it's 3-band. Don't quote me. Volume. Pickups, low, 2-band EQ, low, high. They're just stacked on each other. Low, high, jazz pickup, or bridge pickup, neck pickup. And it comes stock with EMGs too, which is fucking crazy. Like actual, both pickups are EMGs. Not made by Schecter, made by EMG. I cannot talk highly enough about this bass. Anytime I have a live show or anything like that, like in a band where things like, if there's a possibility that someone's gonna cover this thing in Beer and Blood, or a bass, I'm bringing this. It sounds incredible, and it's also under $1,000. Not that that matters, but like, whatever. I have no problem. I would not want this thing to get hurt, but it's a little easier than a fucking F-Bass that's a neck through. I just got a text, hold on. Whatever. It's a little easier than a neck through that, I just saw a video of the guy from Dragon Force, where he broke his guitar. I don't know if anybody saw that. He like does like this super fucking cheesy thing, and his guitar was like $30,000 or something insane. It just snapped. I'm not saying he deserves it, that sucks. But, you know, the best way to not break a $30,000 guitar is to not play it on your live show. So, anyway, I break this thing out all the time. And what I really like too is the bridge is super flat. Let's see if you can see it on this way. And because the bridge is flat, like how it's, you could really rest your hand there. Everything is insanely flat. There's no, whatever, jaggedness to it. It's really good for people that are guitar players then going to bass, because I'm not saying you need to like palm mute, but if you're playing with a pick, which are always out of reach because I don't use them enough, it's a cool spot to rest your hand because you're not actually going to palm mute the strings, because a lot of guitar players that go into bass always end up palm muting. But if you just rest your hand there, the strings are going to ring out completely. I don't know if that's why they did it, but it's a really cool design that, yeah, I could see it working for a lot of people that are transferring from guitar to bass. But yeah, it's one of my favorite basses probably ever made. Yeah, and the best bang for the buck of any bass I've ever seen. The amount of value you get for fucking $700 or $800 or whatever, which is not cheap, but you don't need another bass. Like, that's it. All the other stuff is bells and whistles. I feel like I'm talking shit about the F-Basses. It's staring right at me, but yeah, most people cannot get a fucking $8,000 bass, like, or $7 or whatever it is and change. It's not, that's like, I don't know, play for 30 something years and then maybe get it. That's what I did at least. But yeah, if you just want to get a bass that'll do everything, you can't go wrong with this thing. It's amazing. I don't believe it has an option to get rid of the active though. Like on the F base, you could pull a knob and then all of a sudden it's passive. The reason that helps in a real life setting is it happened to me yesterday. The battery died out. It's just a 9-volt in the back. When the battery dies out, the signal is cracky and you fucking can't hear. You can hear it, but it's a weak signal. Like it doesn't sound open or anything like that. Then you have to take it out and replace it. But if that happens while you're playing a live show or something like that, and you can't just, your signal will just fucking die out. That's it. You pull the knob, and you're passive again, and then it doesn't matter because you just turn your volume up on the amp or whatever, and you're able to play the rest of the set, and no one really knows. This, if the battery goes out, you're fucked. So that's kind of what it is. Well, you're fucked if you're playing live. Otherwise, you just pop the back off. And you can see in the back, they only have a compartment just for the battery. It's literally battery shaped. A lot of the other ones, so you can't even tinker around and mess around with stuff in here, which I think is pretty cool. This one has, the battery goes back here where everything else is, where there's the preamp and all that stuff. I just noticed that just now when I looked at the back of it. That's one of those things I take for granted that I just know, but why? And why? Because they don't want people fucking around with electronics in here. It's just gonna be the 9-volt. That's it. If you need it to get anywhere else, it's gonna be underneath this huge pick guard. That's where all the electronics are. So you avoid, especially for a sub-$1,000 guitar, it's pretty cool because it's, I don't know if they did this, but it's an unintended fail-safe because people are going to have to change the battery. So you could just change the battery and you don't have to worry about knocking loose anything else because that's all under here. When you open up the back of this thing, or most bases that are active, everything is there. All the guts are there and everything. You could fucking, if you're not that you're not, but you have to actually like mean to break something, but it looks like the inside of a spaceship back here. It's like gold foil and all sorts of crazy shit like that. So actually I'll show you. I don't feel like taking out a screwdriver, but let's go through the let's go through the ring with it. Let me get the Warwick. That pops off easy. Hold on. All right, and I know it's brutal just popping these in and out all the time, but fuck it, right? I'm gonna wake people up. Well, it's mid-noon. After mid-noon. I don't even know what time it is. 11? Everyone should be awake. This one is fucking a very active one. This has the option too, though. So when I pull the when the volume's down, active, pull it up, passive. But what I'm getting at is the back of this thing doesn't take screws. So when the battery comes out, this battery came out, I had to change this battery on the fly at an audition I had in 2005, something like that. It was for, I don't want to name drop it, but it was a pretty big fucking band. And this thing busted and I had to throw the battery in like on the fly for it. Granted, it was an audition, so they gave me like a second. But yeah, it's pretty fucking nuts. But when you open it up, just like that, everything's in there. I mean, so I would just change the battery, but all of these little spots that are underneath each knob, and the battery just came flying out, obviously. But what I was getting at is on the Schecter, you don't even have that option. It's just change the battery. I just saw a comment, never knew of a thing. My cheap Ibanez 5-string has a separate battery. Yeah, separate battery compartment. You'll see them on, I guess, I don't know about cheaper, because they are, right? We don't need to be fucking PC over here. They're fucking cheap bases. Doesn't mean they're shitty, but they're cheap. I feel like a reason they do that is because they don't want people tinkering around with the electronics, because then they're gonna have a lot of, you know, warranty problems. How many times when I was a kid I broke a radio, but I was just taking it apart and put it back together. I don't really want people doing that with their stuff. What is different about this one? Again, angled back. Oh, this is another one too. When you put your strings on, I had this one set up at the bass place in Arizona. They're fucking amazing. Highly recommend them. But they're fucking experts. Like what their work on bases is bar none. But when you actually put the strings on, they did this perfectly. This is exactly how it's supposed to be done. I don't even do this shit when I'm by myself. It's a fine line because you can't go, if you wrap this and it goes all the way to the bottom and then you're overlapping, it's a huge problem. The goal is to wrap the post so the strings go all the way down, and each time you're going lower and lower, right? So as I get close here, you go around the first time, second time's gonna be lower, 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 and at the very bottom, it comes out. The reasoning for that is the same idea as having the headstock tilted. If the post is here and you're coming with the string out this way, you're gonna go down, 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 so it's at the bottom, and then naturally it's gonna come up for a point then to go back down. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you could tell they did it perfectly, because a lot of the time when you try to wrap it all the way to the very bottom, you run out of fucking real estate, and then all of a sudden they're overlapping, and then you have tuning problems, and it's a whole disaster of a thing. Yeah, so that's a cool one too, with just wrapping the strings. Some people measure it out, and they do whatever. I feel like they put glue on this thing. Yes, they did. They fixed the nut, because this is an old base that I brought into them. You can see right here they glued it to keep it on, because it works with an Allen key, so I could raise and lower the height of the nut as well, because Germans are insane with the way that they operate things. And I also know that the truss rod is done through the neck, the headstock. You pop this off and there's a rod in here that makes bases go as a bow, straight, or the opposite, concave, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I don't know if there's too much more. I'm looking at, I could break down every base, but I don't know about that. I've been here for a half hour. So I think that's it. But yeah, keep coming back. I really appreciate 5,000 fucking subscribers. That's insane. So yeah, if you haven't been here for the live one, put in the comments if you made it this far, whatever the hell people say. I sound rehearsed now. It's pretty annoying. But I really, really rely on the comments on how to get material out there, videos out there, all that fun shit. So please lace that shit up, and I will see you guys soon. And I still never remember how to do this. Mwah. Okay, bye.